Oh, Alabama, the devil fools with the best laid plans, so goes the song. Now we have a report, thanks to the Southern Poverty Law Center, of 2 police in Anniston, Alabama, who are now suspended after it has been revealed that they've been involved with some organizations that aren't necessarily friendly to all races, pretty much anybody other than white people, or, well, white Christians, let's put it that way. And this officer, Josh Dogrel, is a member of an organization called the League of the South, and he was speaking at one of their gatherings, and that was on videotape, and that got put online, and then that got seen and posted again, and now we're talking about it because he went to speak to this group, this Lieutenant Josh Dogrel, and he said this. He was talking about he was up for a raise, up for a promotion, and he went in to talk to his boss who wanted to clear things up because a lot of people have been talking about this officer who may be involved with hate groups, and he just wanted to clear it up, and this is what he said. I went in and I told the chief last year, I'm not going to sell out my position with the league. It's something I believe in strongly. If it came down to it, I'd choose the league. Is there anything you want to ask me? And his supervisor responds, you've just answered every question I have. We pretty much think like you do.
Shocking. Makes me scared to go down to Alabama. I mean, I'm not white Christian myself. Just the amount of hatred going on in this country at the moment, the amount of problems with our police force. And it seems like they were openly aware of this tie with their lieutenant. And Anniston knew about this for a while, the city of Anniston, but only have chosen to do something about this since it's come to light in the media.
So, thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be around sanity. As I said last year, I trounce around in the wilderness among people who think differently than I do and I don't understand. It's good to be among people who think like I do for a change, even if it's for just a weekend. And we're working on getting more of those people around to our way of thinking.
Our general goal is to advance the social, cultural, economic, and political well-being and independence of the Southern people by all honorable means.
We're talking first and foremost about our people. And who are our people? Our people are white European Southerners.
But I'll tell you this, it starts everybody every year something starts swirling back around about it. You know, that this guy works at the police department, founder of a local hate group. And I went in and told the chief last year, I said, because I had a promotional interview and I thought for sure this was going to be brought back up again, and it wasn't. And I went back in there and I said, is there anything that you want to ask me? I said, I promise you that whatever I do, I'm going to exercise good judgment about it. I'm not going to sell out my position with the league. That's something I believe in strongly. If it came down to it, I'd choose the league. And I said, is there anything you want to ask me? He said, you just answered every question I have. And he even said this, he said, we pretty much think like you do.
Huh.
They're like everybody else you come into contact with that's not here today. They're just not quite ready to take that step. But like I said earlier, they are much closer than they were 10 or 15 years ago.
When the riders arrived in Anniston, they were met by a brutal mob which shattered windows, punctured the tires of the bus, and set it on fire.
They held the door, and I remember them saying, let's burn them alive.
It's not easy being a League of the South member either. One of the things I know when I come and be among you folks is that nobody's here for personal glory, because I hope we get to that day one day too. I hope we go and we go, you know, that guy's just here because the League of the South is so dang popular and he's just trying to ride our coattails. I hope we get to that day.
The city manager, Brian Johnson, was asked about the case of whether or not they would be allowed to employ somebody who is known to belong to a hate group. And they used a hypothetical question. specifying the KKK. And this was Brian Johnson's answer. This is the Anniston city manager. He said, "We could not terminate an employee solely on his or her membership in a legal, lawfully formed civic club or organization. I do not believe that someone could be terminated solely based on their private sector membership in a properly formed legal organization, as hateful as the KKK might be."
But shouldn't our police force be unbiased, be not racist at least, and hopefully not mentally insane? I mean, I understand that these groups, because of freedom of speech in America, can't necessarily be made illegal, although I personally think they should be illegal. But if you can't make them illegal, at least do background checks. I mean, it's the police force. And don't allow leaders and founders of these hate groups to be running our forces.
Yeah, and here we are now, decades after the civil rights bus rides through the South, the freedom rides through the South, and there was an infamous incident that happened in this city of Anniston, Alabama, that did involve the police department and the KKK. The police did not let them pass through unabated, and then the KKK ended up firebombing the Greyhound bus. It was an infamous incident in the history of the civil rights movement and the freedom rides through the South, and that happened in this town. And it's shocking to me to think that this is where we're at here today in 2015, that we have a police organization and a city that basically tacitly condones their involvement in these white power organizations, now only because the story has been brought to light that these officers, they've been put on suspension until further investigation. There was the city, the police chief appeared to have no problem with it until it became a public issue.
It seems like they just want to go back to slaveholding times. They want to ban interracial marriages. They want to expel Jews, Arabs from America. You know, what do they want this country to become? It's just horrifying.
It's as you said, thankfully, you know, this kind of thing is being brought to light through journalistic organizations. Otherwise, we wouldn't know about it. The world wouldn't know about it, and it would continue to exist. I'm quite frankly exacerbated by the amount of stories that we're reporting on where this kind of racial prejudice is existing in our society, especially when it's existing within police organizations and government organizations. It's exacerbating. Quite frankly, it affects me emotionally. It's a lot to take to think that here we are and we're still living in this, but it's got to be reported, because that's the only way to ferret out this kind of thing in our own country. I didn't think that we were still living in this world, but it's becoming more and more obvious.